what was your line when you first started going to therapy that I loved? You go, which lies do I tell her? Man of the year. Man.
Oh!
Welcome to the #1 friendship podcast in the country. I'm Aaron Karo.
I'm Matt Ritter.
Matt, congratulations are in order. You are now verified on Instagram.
Oh, the greatest feeling in the world. Oh God, I'm up on cloud 10.
I'll be honest. I don't like it.
You don't like it? I knew you were gonna have a problem with it.
I had one thing.
Oh.
I had a 5-year head start of verification.
God, this is your Schadenfreude.
This is my reverse Schadenfreude.
Freudenfraud?
Freudenfraud. I
You're
like
happy?
it. I'm happy for you. You deserve it.
Do I deserve it?
I mean, it is nice. How does it feel?
Oh, it's great. I've actually had a lot of people message me. How'd you do that? How'd you get that? I'm like, have you been in the New York Times recently? I don't know. Have you?
That's how we got it.
Yeah.
That's how we got it. Because you need to have like major news article.
Major breaking news.
And we were just in the New York Times.
That was pretty cool. Ah, what a day.
We were the lead.
Yeah, I was in Italy when it happened. Couldn't even celebrate together.
So let's talk about this New York Times article. Let's dig deep. Let's do a deep dive into some of the tips. Also, what do you think about that? They call you Mr. Ritter and Mr. Karo.
I like it. Respect was given.
So somebody asked me, "Oh, why did you ask?" Like, no, that's just what the New York Times does for everybody.
Oh, okay. I thought we were just getting respect.
Yeah,
now,
Mr. Biden.
Now that
Mr.
I'm verified, I'm like, oh, they're
Yeah.
calling me Mr. Oh, it's
Yeah.
great. Accidental.
So the article was called "Why Is It So Hard for Men to Make Close Friends?" And by the way, this was went viral. Howard Stern was talking about the article.
This was tailor-made for us.
Yeah. And we will include a link, a non-paywall link in the show notes, in the caption. She talked about, Catherine Pearson was the reporter. She
Excellent.
interviewed us. She was great. She talks about the friendship recession, talking about just basically men have less friends than ever.
This is why we're doing the podcast.
Yeah.
It's literally why we started this podcast. And then all of a sudden, this Times article breaks and everybody is talking about it. I mean, it had 566 comments in 24 hours before they shut off the comments.
Yeah, they cut off the comments, which is that normal? They usually stop letting you comment?
I didn't know that, but I
Yeah.
also don't pay for the New York Times. I actually also have to get the free link
Yeah,
from Karo,
okay. Matt,
my
I'll-
friend of utility.
Yeah, yes, that's right. I'm
That's
the friend
why
of
he's
utility.
the friend of utility.
That's right. That's right. So the first tip said, practice vulnerability, even if it makes you uncomfortable.
So I think that's the hardest tip, because all the other, we'll get into the other tips, but I think that's the hardest one, because telling somebody to be vulnerable goes against if you're not vulnerable normally, that's just not something that is easily toggled on and off. Like telling you to text your friend is a lot easier than going, be vulnerable. And I came from a place of extreme non-vulnerability my whole life. Like saying I love you now to me still is a hard thing. I do it now, but I'm still cognizant of there's a little bit of a block for me. Like when friends or family or whoever on the phone says I love you at the end, I have to kind of turn something on to let myself be
Really?
vulnerable and say I love you. Yeah.
Your sister says I love you, you go, oh, you panic?
I used to have a harder time. Now now I do it, but I still sometimes I feel that thing in my brain telling me, don't say it. It's weird.
You know what's funny? My sister actually said her favorite part of the podcast is at the end when we say I love you to each other.
I love doing that too. Actually, no, and Karo, I give you a lot of credit for, you just did it organically, and I said it back, and then we were like, wow, we're going to add that to every episode. And I think that's what vulnerability is about. I think just vocalizing I love you to your friends, it's a very hard thing to do. And I acknowledge that because I know it's been a hard thing for me. But when you do it, it's so freeing. Once you do it the first time, it's kind of okay, now I can do it every time.
Let me ask you this. Do you worry that people, and guys especially, saying I love you more, us saying I love you more, it begins to lose meaning?
No, I'm not worried about that, because I think the bigger problem is that
People
are struggling with it, right?
Right.
So if we get to a point where I love yous are losing meaning, that means we're at such a healthy place where people are just showering, where men are just showering each other with love and kindness and flattery. Like, I don't think we're anywhere near that.
Can I give you an example?
Yeah.
So last time we recorded our podcast, our producer Thelonious was packing up. I don't know if you remember this. And he goes, all right, man, I'll see you next session. I go, cool. Love you, man. And
He didn't reciprocate? Producer Theo.
No, I mean,
he doesn't love you.
No, I'm saying I was embarrassed of myself.
You felt it was too gratuitous.
I've only known Theo for 2 months.
No, but you do love him.
I mean, I do love him,
Yeah,
but
you do.
it was like when you call the teacher mommy.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, love you, Theo. And he just walked out.
He probably went home to his girlfriend and he was like, so a weird thing happened today.
Right.
One of the podcast hosts told me he loved me.
I gotta be honest, I didn't even catch it. Maybe I just didn't think it was meant for me. I don't think you said me out though. You might have said man.
We were embracing at the time. We were hugging, like a hug goodbye.
He's not used to it. He's younger.
Oh yeah. Do you say love you to your friends?
No.
See?
Oh.
This is what I'm saying. Look, I think I'm in the majority of people who never said I love you to your friends. Like for me, this is very recent.
Really?
I also I grew up with I think my family was pretty warm, but like my grandmother never said I love you. Whole life, 94 years.
To anybody.
And couldn't even hug her. It was tough. There was like a force field around her.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Grandma.
Oh yeah.
Like,
She was tough. You tried to say I love you. She'd go, see you later.
Why do you think that was?
She didn't grow up with love. She had a very tough childhood. So she had a very, very tough childhood. So she had to, put walls up, but I was raised with love. I just was definitely putting on like an act of like tough guy or like trying to be crazy because I was the smallest in the class. So I had to put up kind of like a defensive shield. And so that made me kind of put up a like tougher exterior than I really have.
Just for context, guys, in 4th grade in gym class, Matt would take a big gym sock, put a bunch of other socks in it, swing it around and slap me with it and goes, hope we don't play that.
A reference to the 80s, early 90s classic.
In Living Color.
In Living Color.
Yeah.
Theo, put that on the list of references that nobody's going to remember.
So let me ask you this, and this is another devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm probably the more vulnerable, more emotive one, and definitely wearing my heart on my sleeve. And I don't want to bring everything back to my dating life, but I think that, women want vulnerable guys who can emote and whatever. I think they say that, but they don't. They actually prefer like the quiet. What's it called? The quiet type.
I'm just picturing Karo weeping on the first date.
Weeping. First date.
First date, just
weeping. My mom never. No. I think they like the stoic.
Like, the environment.
Yeah.
Why should we even have kids in this world? It's just there's no point. Climate change. Blah blah blah.
I think women actually prefer stoic guys over vulnerable guys.
Look, I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Probably like in the dating world for sure.
Yeah.
Because I think we just have like thousands of years of
right.
gender roles.
Yeah.
That everybody is used to. But look, my own situation is like I only got into therapy after my now wife was like, you need to go to therapy.
Right. So what advice can we give to sort of an average guy who wants to practice vulnerability or is trying to be more vulnerable?
Go to therapy?
I mean, therapy is always the answer.
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of these breakthroughs I had were from therapy. Like,
what was your line? What was your line when you first started going to therapy that I loved? The funny one?
I don't remember.
You go, which lies do I tell her?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, anybody who's ever been in therapy, you're like, am I really coming clean to this person? Or am I painting like a rosier picture of myself? So everybody does that.
So I think one piece of advice would be that guys are much better at receiving vulnerability than we think they are. Like if you think you're going to tell your buddy, I love you, and he's going to be like, fucking loser, like probably not. He's going to be like, I love you too.
Right.
In fact, we've done some man on the street stuff where we have guys call their friends and say, I love you. And the guys love it.
Right. So I think you're right. So people are projecting a lot. So try not to project the response. Try not to project the response. Try not to project that if you put yourself out there, it's going to get rejected by one of your friends.
Right. I also think there is a spectrum of vulnerability. Like not everyone is comfortable telling their friends they love them. It's saying something nice, giving a compliment, saying you're sad. I mean, you don't have to go you know.
Right. I also think there's like context too, because if you're trying to be vulnerable and you do it around your buddies at a, we're all drinking and watching football and like they're primed because we all make fun of each other or something.
Yeah.
And then they make fun of you in that moment. You're going to shut down and be like, oh, damn it. I tried to say I love you that one time. And look at that. They all made fun of me for it.
Right. Well, I don't know. When I have a couple of drinks in me, that's when I get the most amorous.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I get the most
This
amorous.
guy hugging and kissing and loving. But yeah, I mean, look, I think, you know yourself, right? So some people have a much harder time with being vulnerable. So don't try to run before you can walk. Try to get together with one friend and maybe just try and be like, if I don't say it enough, thank you. You're always been there for me. Instead of going all the way with, because I look, to me, I found the saying I love you to friends, that was the hardest. Like I've never had a problem saying like, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you, or even that stuff. Just the actual words. I think I love you is a much harder thing to say. Like maybe start with, hey, man, I really appreciate you.
Right. Thanks is always thanks for doing X, because that's a more guy accepted thing.
Gateway.
Yeah, it's a gateway.
Thanks is gateway to I love you.
A gateway emotion. Yeah, it's great. That's great. I'm just curious, producer Theo, is there a reason why you don't tell your friends you love them, or just not a thing in your friend group?
I think I'm similar to Matt into where I struggle with the words "I love you," and I think society has like built it up to mean like so much. So like, it's an ambiguous definition of what love really is, and so like different people put different weights on it. And when I hear like girls a lot do this to people they just meet, like, oh, I love you, I'm like, do you? Right.
And that's what Karo's talking about. He's saying that it kind of dilutes it.
Yeah.
And I've actually found that that's what I had a hard time with, is like, I do find a lot of like social interactions now. You'll get people like just saying goodbye to their kind of like sometimes not even close friend, like an acquaintance.
Yeah.
They say goodbye. They go, love you, bye.
Right.
And then you're like tempted to be like, just bye.
Right. Like your grandma.
Yeah, right. Like you skip the I love you. But so I used to have a hard time with that. Now I'm like, you know what? What's the harm in also saying I love you bye? Because I think that's what he's talking about, like this ambiguity of the term I love you and what does it mean? And does it have to have so much meaning every time you say it? Right? Like, does there have to be all the weight of loving your spouse to saying I love you to some acquaintance after you went and had drinks together?
Right.
No, I think it's okay to also be like, I love you, bye. But look, if you're not feeling that, just be like, great to see you, man.
Yeah. I love thanks as a gateway emotion.
Yeah, thanks is the gateway emotion.
I love that.
Just start with thanks.
So the second tip in the article was don't assume friendship happens organically.
Oh, this is a really important one. I mean, we talk about this on the pod all the time. The older you get, the more it's going to require effort. I'm not saying it requires a ton of effort, but it does require thought, planning, effort. You just don't even see each other organically.
Right. And I think we talked about this in episode 1 or episode 2 about taking initiative. You aren't necessarily trying to make new friends. You're just trying to put yourself in a position where you might meet someone.
Right. And that's, but what we're talking about is like, you got to leave your house to do that. You can't stay in your house and expect to make friends, or also even seeing your friends. I mean, somebody's got to make a plan to go see your friends.
I've actually been using this advice from the podcast, because it's like, if there's an event, a work event, alumni event, I'm on the fence. I'm always like, well, you never know what could happen. You never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah.
So I try to push myself to go out a little bit more.
I find like there's so rare a time where I do go to an event where I'm like, that wasn't worth it. Right. I find most of the time I'm like, oh, that was better than I expected. Or I ran into somebody that I wasn't even thinking about. Like that's the other part. You go to these events and there's just a lot of people that you maybe could be friends with, or, kind of on the fringe, or that you even, want to see, that you might share an activity in common with, that you wouldn't even know we're going to be there.
I need some advice.
Okay.
So one of my fears or issues with going to any sort of event, a mixer, an alumni thing, I always end up getting cornered by someone who I don't want to talk to, and I can't get out of it.
People are always putting too much weight on escaping a conversation. Like, it's really not that hard. I think you just be like, hey, there's a few people I need to go say hi to.
Yeah.
You just go, hey, I see somebody I need to say hi to. Hey, great catching up. I'll see you later. I got to go float about, me. That's what I say when I want to get out of it. I just go, hey, me. I gotta circulate.
But like sometimes I can't even like I can't get a word in.
No, I think the answer is going, Great to see you. I got to socialize. You know me. I'm a social
Right.
butterfly.
I like you know me. I just wish that people would like. How do people not have
the awareness.
the awareness? Like you see me going, well,
I think people think they're having a good time with you.
Right,
They're
right,
enjoying their conversation with you.
Yeah.
So in their mind, they're like, this is fun.
right.
I'm having a good time. But also the flip side could be they also don't know how to exit that convo.
Right. Oh, interesting.
And so they're just going to keep going and
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
going. And then it becomes like a battle of wills. Like, is one of us going to end this
Right,
thing or are we
right.
just going to talk in a corner for 2 hours?
And then they both go, well, you know me.
Well,
And they
you
go,
know
oh, thank
me.
God.
Yeah. And then you both walk into the
Yeah.
same exact opposite corner. You're like, you know me, I got to
Yeah.
go get a drink. And then you're both at the bar. And it's
Yeah.
like, you again.
So what advice do we have for people who maybe are a little bit more passive or need to take a little bit more initiative in meeting people, making friends?
So are we talking about getting out or when you're out?
I think both.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're out, it's also okay to not overwhelm yourself with
Yeah.
it. Like if you're in the moment feeling like, oh man, I feel nervous. Like, first of all, nobody's watching you.
Yeah.
Nobody. I always tell my friends and my wife, like most of the time, nobody's thinking about you.
No, no one's ever
Just
thinking.
remember that
Yeah.
most of the time, nobody is thinking about you. So whatever is going on, it's just going on in your head.
And by the way, just to repeat, we're not necessarily saying you're going out searching for friends,
Yeah.
trolling for friends. You're just, trying to meet, you're just out,
Yeah.
you're living your life. I will say one thing, because I sometimes get nervous, like just going up to people.
Yeah.
You know what I do? I just say, hey, I just started to introduce myself.
I love that.
And people go, great, that's great. People love it.
Yeah, I love that one. You know what I love too? And I noticed that women do this much more than men, I think. Complimenting each other on outfits. Like we
Yeah.
just made friends in Italy because somebody complimented my wife on her shoes, and that's it. That's
Yeah.
the opening
Yeah.
that you need. you know?
Compliments go a long way.
Long way.
Long
But
way.
men have maybe less things to compliment each other on. Like, if you're not like wearing a bunch of stylish
Right. But I guess
things.
it's, we don't want to go against our vulnerability, but like
Yes.
to go up to a guy like, hey, I like your shirt.
No, I've done that before. I
Yeah.
do like that. That's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
good one. I like your shirt. But I also think, hey, if you're going to go out, maybe be prepared for some talking points, some things you actually,
Yeah. Google, what happened
what's
in the
going
game
on?
today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what's going on? I mean, you have to have something to say. I mean, let's be honest. If you're looking to make friends and you're going to an event, like you got to have something to say.
You know what my foolproof compliment is?
Yeah.
Compliment people on their tattoos.
That's a good one.
They love that.
You don't know that many people with tattoos.
But like,
Yeah.
Exactly. Strangers.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you like say anything about it? Like you just like, oh, I love that like rose with
No, you
with
can never
with a
s-
knife in it.
You can never say because you always will say, and they're like, no, that's a
Yeah.
swordfish,
I love picturing you going up to somebody and going, I love your tattoo. And then they go, yeah, it's actually the date that my daughter died.
Oh, oh shit.
Those never compliment on the dates.
You mean the full body?
The
What's got a picture of a baby?
Full picture,
Yeah.
full baby,
Yeah.
with a date on it.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you know where that one's
Forever
going.
in our
Yeah,
heart.
forever.
Baby Jennifer.
Forever in
Yeah.
our hearts. 2014.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
compliment on that one.
2014 to 2016.
2016.
Oh!
Don't compliment on the full body tombstone.
Now, as the full back tattoo.
tombstone.
Now we've discussed this before that I want to get a tattoo.
Oh yeah, you and Karen want to get one together? No,
No,
I made
Karen
that
would
up.
never get a tattoo.
I thought it was something to do
It's
with
my
your
sister,
family.
by the way.
No, but wasn't it something to do with your
I wanted-
family's
I wanted-
history?
I wanted to get. Well, I had two ideas. One was the big duck.
What was that for?
So the big duck is the big duck is a historic landmark on Long Island.
Okay.
It was built in like the 20s on a duck farm. It's like the world's largest freestanding duck.
Okay.
It's like
I've always known you to be a duck guy, so of course,
It's-
obviously, when I think Karo, I think duck guy.
duck guy. It's
Guy can't even eat duck; he gets an allergic reaction to duck.
It's
Okay.
it's a gift shop. We'll post a picture on socials, but it's a giant. You could walk into it, and in the 80s or 90s, in the 80s or 90s they moved it.
Mm.
Okay, so they moved it from one farm to another farm. So they put this duck on a tractor trailer, and they
Yeah.
moved it. People were cheering like it's a big thing. And my dad saw it on the news, and he thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. Crying, laughing, just a duck on a little
Right,
thing on
yeah,
the
yeah.
road. and it's our family sort of mascot, the big duck.
Okay.
And it's our family joke.
All right, I like that.
I actually went and I posted something on the Facebook page, on the Big Duck Facebook page, and I went and I found the footage, the VHS footage of the
From the
duck being
80s.
moved from the 80s.
Is it pretty funny?
And
Still funny?
It's not as funny.
Okay.
And I actually showed it to my dad. I surprised him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's when they moved the duck." I'm like, "I was gonna get a tattoo with this. I was gonna get a tattoo."
That's pretty funny. You're like, this is a big moment
Yeah,
for
this-
our family. He's
yeah.
like, was it?
Yeah.
He's like, was it?
So
What's the other one?
So then I was also gonna, oh God. So also wanted to get a shark for a while.
Right, that's the one.
It was my mom's pitch, okay? Because we were in the gifted program
Yes.
in 4th grade or something like
Yeah,
that.
they called it Project Challenge.
Project Challenge, and I don't know if you were in that year, but I had to do a giant report. And I did my report on sharks. My parents still have it. We'll post a picture of that on socials. It's still in my closet at home. And since that moment, I've been just deathly afraid of sharks. A complete opposite of what the report was supposed to do, because they're actually not really going to kill you.
Got you scared of sharks.
So my mom's like, you should get a shark. Sharks are a cool tattoo. I'm like, yeah, it is. But then I just kind of lost interest in
I
it.
just don't see you as a shark tattoo guy. I like the big duck idea better if you're going to go down either of those routes.
Yeah.
Or maybe just come up with something new.
But like what? What do
I don't know.
When you think of me, what do you think of? Oh, Jesus. this is not gonna
I
be good.
think, maybe comedy, maybe CrossFit,
Oh,
maybe
CrossFit
writing,
tattoo?
Yeah, maybe
Me writing?
yeah, it's like or maybe the man of the year
The trophy?
tattoo, the trophy on your chest, like right here,
Well, I know where I'm going to get
rib
it.
cage,
Yeah.
or maybe like Psalms, some sort of, like
What-
the Bible verse.
What's the Jewish version of a psalm?
I like a Shabbat prayer on your back.
But like ooh, you know what I should get?
Yeah.
Fucking beret peri hagafen.
A
That's
little wine,
The
prayer
blessing over the wine.
on your lower back.
Yeah, on
Lower-
a tramp
your lower-
stamp.
a tramp
Yeah.
stamp, beret, peri, I got it.
You know?
Yeah,
I
drink
like
it
wine.
Up. Drink it
I
up.
don't even really particularly like wine that
No,
much.
you're not a big
Yeah.
wine guy.
Yeah.
Hey, Tito's.
A
Beret,
T-
Peri, Hagafen.
Yeah.
Is it still Hagafen? We got to find out if we have any.
Why would it not be?
Well, that's over wine specifically.
Oh, if you
It's not
oh.
over alcohol.
Do you do a thing over
Beret, Peri, vodka, Tito's.
Vodka?
Beret, Peri, Tito's.
You know what I've realized is that you just have to get something that you care about, and then that is your like. It doesn't really matter. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's that point of your life when you got something, and that was it. I'm not gonna get something crazy, and I'm not getting something you could see unless I'm like naked or whatever.
But it'll be a good talking point.
It'll be a good talking.
Well, not if
point.
it's hidden on your
belly
belly button.
If a woman is seeing it,
You've already gotten to the point where
You remember once, like 20 years ago, you're like, I don't work out. And I go, why? You're like, because if a girl sees my shirt off, it doesn't matter anymore.
Great line. I don't remember
This was
saying
you
that.
in like
That's awesome.
sophomore year of high school.
If I take my shirt off, I've already gotten what I needed.
Anyway,
yeah.
tip 3
Yeah.
was use activities to your advantage. And this made me think of you because you had said to me that guys love going to sports because you're sitting next to each other,
Yeah.
not across.
Yeah. Like, well, sometimes I don't have somebody to go watch sports with. I'll just go to this bar in Western and it's just a bunch of random people. You always strike up a conversation with somebody when you're just in close proximity watching sports.
Well, you had such a great point because sports for guys, and first of all, not every guy likes sports,
Yeah.
and not everyone listening is a guy. You can just say like, "Oh, horrible pass," you
Yes.
know, like, and then you're just
Something. You have something to open
Yeah,
with.
yeah, exactly, and
Yeah.
that's just like, a communal
Yeah.
thing.
Like, God damn it, Eli Manning.
Right.
Stupid
That's
pass.
evergreen.
Yeah. The evergreen.
Yeah.
Damn it, Eli.
Yeah. Oh, so she actually says in the article, she interviews a doctor who says boys and men tend to be socialized to do group activities side by side. Oh, I didn't even think that. Wow, I thought I made that up. Okay, so it's like that's a literal like evolutionary thing.
Literally side by side, shoulder to shoulder. And that's the other part, right? Because you're talking about like how to do these things.
Yeah.
You just got to put yourself in a situation where a lot of this stuff will then just flow from doing that one step.
I was just gonna say, going to a bar, sitting at the bar by yourself and having a beer and a burger, and not even doing anything else is a step. Because someone comes up and picks up food and you talk to them for a second. The bartender sends something to you. People sit next to you. You don't have to try to do anything. Just show
Yeah.
up.
And by the way, for people who don't drink, that's why I said diner too. Like just going to eat somewhere and sitting at the counter,
Right.
you will end up talking to the other people who are eating at the counter. I guarantee it.
Yeah. And then the fourth tip was harness the power of casual check-ins. And this is something Times has written about before, something I think we mentioned in the pod, which is just shooting a text.
Yeah. That's our big overarching thing is, hey, we want to help you build these awesome friendship traditions like the trophy, but our much smaller goal is to get you to unlock the tiniest things that are so easy to do that go a mile, like low effort, high reward. Get on a text chain today.
Yeah. And also going back to number one, being vulnerable, a lot easier to do in text.
And and the reason I said text chain is a lot easier. Sometimes it's harder to do one-on-one.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just easier to get a group text chain going. I'll give you an example. For me, I hadn't seen a lot of my law school friends in a while. And so thinking about reconnecting individually, like sometimes it's just like daunting, even just sending a text to somebody you literally haven't spoken to in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I find it easier if I put 4 of them on a text and, just shoot out a like, hey, what's going on, crew, versus like, hey, haven't seen you in a while.
I have a great hack/tip.
Hack tip.
Occasionally on Facebook and Google Photos, it'll send you this day 10 years ago.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah. Well, it'll show you a picture.
Yeah. I will just take a screenshot and I will send it to everyone in that picture.
That's a great idea.
You don't even have to write anything.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I use like memes for that.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
sometimes I'll use just like a silly meme.
Yeah.
About something, or like whatever, White Lotus.
Right.
Shot.
Right. I'm not caught up, so don't tell anything.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think the check-in, but also just like, what's up? Like just saying hello.
Yeah.
And I think, they also says in the article that we think that people don't want to hear from them, but we actually do.
It's crazy. The psychology that's in all the things the tricks that your mind plays on you to get you to think that people are going to feel uncomfortable or not want to hear from you when it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Everybody's going through this.
Now, speaking of that, why don't we talk about some of the comments?
Yes. So I loved the outpouring of comments there, because we've,
comments on the article.
Comments on the article. But when we started this podcast, we were in a vacuum going, hey, I think we've stumbled into a topic that people are really interested in learning about or talking about. We think people are having issues, but now obviously the podcast has reaffirmed that, just the outpouring of support. But then, this New York Times article, just insane, the number of comments within the first 24 hours.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the comments that stuck out to you.
I think one of the biggest issues people have is moving geographic locations. When somebody moves and has to start over. Like I noticed that was a reoccurring theme of like, hey, that is hard. I'm not going to lie and say, hey, you're easily going to be able to recreate the friend group you had from childhood.
Right. I mean, I think honestly, all the tips in the article really work well for that, which is like showing some initiative, taking advantage of activities, being vulnerable. I mean, also remember, people who lived in that town are also probably looking for friends or are lonely.
Right. A lot of these cities that you move to, a lot of other people are moving to.
Right.
New city stuff.
Or their friends moved away.
Yeah. But I also, on that note, one of the things that you always talk about is like, do something you already enjoy doing.
Right.
Like you're a CrossFit guy, you're a workout guy. You started that Venice Run Club thing.
Yeah.
It's like, so do that. Go do that. You will probably meet other people who also just joined that thing.
Right. And I think it's recommended to do things that have a recurrence. So that's why gym is good.
Consistency.
It's consistency. It's the same people, the same time.
If you join the autumnal or vernal equinox club, you're going to have problems keeping those friendships up.
Right.
Hey, we have got this awesome Haley's Comet club.
Yes.
I'm thinking about making new friends at the Haley's Comet. It's the red supermoon club.
Yeah.
Might be a little harder to have a consistent friend group.
Asking for a friend.
All right, so we're going to do our first listener question.
This is exciting.
This is exciting. So guys, if you have a question, DM us on Instagram or DM us on TikTok.
I just got the funniest question. It's going to be in a future episode, but it involved circumcision. So I just want to get you guys excited.
So yeah, please reach out with your questions. And we're going to keep everything anonymous. So don't worry about that. So here's our first question. Hi guys, I'm 28. My wedding is going to be next year. I'm worried that I don't have enough guy friends to be groomsmen. I'm a pretty sensitive, emotional, artsy guy, so I gravitated towards having more female friends than males. Me being the only boy in the family with 4 sisters also did not help. I have only a few guy friends, but we're not that close or really hang out every day. I've always wanted a group of guy friends who'll have my back no matter what. Help. How should I make friends with guys easily?
First off, isn't that the plot of I Love You, Man?
It is. It is.
Isn't that the
That
exact?
is. Love that movie.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
It's the exact plot. That's
Yeah.
the exact background. I mean, he was a little older, but it was
Yeah.
exactly that.
Thank you for that question, by the way. Great question. I have a couple thoughts. I think it's kind of two separate questions. One is the sort of not having enough groomsmen. My first reaction when I read that is like, who cares? Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think the answer is, your wife will probably be cool with you just going, hey, it would make me feel more comfortable if we just don't do bridesmaids and groomsmen.
Or just have your female friends be the
Or you could do that too. I'm
Grooms-
just saying,
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
when push comes to shove, I've seen a lot of weddings where one party doesn't have a lot and they're in
Right.
that situation. And just to make them feel more comfortable, the other one doesn't do like
right,
a giant
right.
slate of bridesmaids versus
Have her. He's got 4 sisters. Like,
yeah.
why don't they just be?
Be the right. You could
Two
also
on
have
one
the
si-
sisters be your friends
Yeah.
too. If you have girlfriends, those are your friends. That's fine.
Yeah. So
It's
I
fine.
think,
They don't have to be men.
Yeah.
Your close friends don't have to be men.
But for
I
the-
mean, that's what I want to know is why. Because like, if you don't gravitate towards having male friends and you feel you have healthy female friendships, there's no need. I mean, I just don't think you don't force it. If you don't gravitate towards having male friendships, that's okay.
yeah. Well, it's specifically okay for the actual like wedding ceremony. He did seem to, imply that he would like to have a couple more guy friends, which I think is good. It is good to have same sex friends. It's just a different relationship.
Yes. The only reason I'm saying is that don't fuel the pressure to have same-sex friends if it's not natural to you,
Right.
just for the sake of symmetry at a wedding.
Oh yeah, no, the wedding, just fucking have a blast. That's all that shit's
We just
bullshit.
went to a wedding where it was two gay men dressed in Hawaiian t-shirts.
Yeah.
And it was very casual.
Yeah.
There were no groomsmen.
Yeah.
There were no bridesmaids. And Karo sat in the front row where the family is supposed to sit.
Listen. There was an empty row. There was an empty seat in the splash zone. Now, I think I'd say 2 pieces of advice if you want to make a couple more guy friends.
Yes.
One, it sounds like he does have a couple guy friends, just doesn't see them that often. So this is a classic case of we need to activate an existing
Yes.
friendship. And how do we do that? Instead of waiting for them, instead of waiting for a friend, you have to be the friend, which is showing some initiative. This is someone you already know. Hey, let's go to the art show. Let's go to a ball game. Shoot a text. He's probably thinking, oh, they're not going to want to go. Yeah, they probably do want to go.
Yeah. I
And
like that.
And the second thing is, sounds like you have a great group of friends and a great family. Have them set you up.
I like that. We've been talking about this. Why can't more people set people up on,
Male play dates.
male play dates?
The person doing this setup, same as a romantic setup, knows you both, knows what you like, knows your type.
Yeah.
Your sister's not going to set you up with some crazy football loving guy because
Right.
that's not your jam.
Right.
But
It's going to set you up with an artist.
yeah, you need
Probably.
some emo.
My
kid.
mom and sister have both set me up on friend dates in LA. actually.
Really?
Yeah, I used to, at first, when I moved out here, I was resistant, stubbornly.
Yeah.
Just, I don't want my mom setting me up.
Here's the voice. Here's the voice. It's so off-putting. It's so. Can we have a graphic for when he does the voice? Because you're so chunk.
It's like,
No, the guy from Goonies. What's it? Did he have a name?
By the way, yeah,
Does he have a name or is it just the guy?
Sloth.
Oh, Sloth.
Yeah, Sloth.
I hate it. I hate
yeah,
it.
yeah. So, but I was resistant to it for whatever reason, pre-therapy.
Yeah.
And now I'm always excited when my mom or sister's like, hey, I just met this person who lives in LA. I think you guys would hit it off, get
Yeah.
together. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I got to replace Karo. So I think his other issue is that he wants to enrich the friendships he does have with these guys. And that's a separate thing, is the depth of friendship, right? I mean, that's the question of like, how do I move from, sounds like fairly casual friendship to a deeper friendship? There isn't a shortcut to that. I don't think, it does take time, but I will say that, you and I have both been successful at having deep but fairly new friendships relatively, right? Like we have friends that we've met only a couple of years ago that we're as close with as some of our friends for our whole life.
I told Theo I loved him after 6
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah, you're very coming on hot, coming in strong, coming in
He was
hot.
like, ugh.
Yeah, and I think, when we talked about the friendship types, friendship of utility,
Yeah.
friend of pleasure, like
Yeah.
and a friend of virtue. I mean, you can be a friend of virtue to other people. They see it very quickly. that you are somebody to be counted on.
Yeah.
You know, being there for somebody when they need people. That's the quickest way to, you know, a friendship leveling up, I would say.
I mean, another thing he should do, by the way, congrats on your impending wedding, have a bachelor party. You don't have to go to Vegas, do a one night steakhouse thing, invite some of the casual friends and just like do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, you know, if these are your friends, I think sometimes you have to meet them where they are. And so for me, that's going to concerts with some of you guys that's not normally like 100% my jam, but I do it. Sometimes I just do it. I'm like, these are the people that I've chosen and I really like them in life. This is my crew in LA. And so they're not exactly the same as my crew in New York. They kind of like different things. Like they're less sports oriented.
Yeah.
My West Coast crew. And so I kind of had to meet them where they are. And and sometimes I'm like, oh, I actually enjoy this more than I thought I would. And then other times I'm like, you know what? It's not for me and that's fine. But I do think just, you know, if you're trying to be closer with these people, sometimes meeting them where they are.
I love that. I mean, listen, our West Coast friends are emo soft boys.
Right. Yeah. They're soft boys.
Yeah.
They don't like sports.
They're spongy soft.
Yeah. They're so soft, but they love that emo music.
Yeah.
And
They love it.
now I kind of like, I like emo
it's fun.
music. It's fun.
It's fun.
Fun
the
to-
East Coast is playing golf and eating steaks.
I know. And they're slightly younger than us. So it's like, I used to like early 90s. Now I'm like, I got to like late 90s.
Yeah.
We got to get into late 90s emo concerts.
I love it. I love it.
Asking for a friend.
So before we wrap up, we have something kind of serious we got to talk about, which is this blood rivalry. That we
Blood.
have.
It's
So-
the Crips versus the Bloods.
So, guys, the podcast has had a meteoric rise.
Meteoric.
We hit number 2 relationship podcast in the country, but we can't seem to get to number 1. We're the number 1 friendship podcast, but we can't get to number 1 relationship podcast because of a woman named Glennon Doyle. Now, many men will have no idea who Glennon Doyle is. I had to look her up.
But every woman knows who she is.
But every woman knows she is.
My wife was like, yeah, you're not going to beat Glennon Doyle. That's what my wife said. She goes, you're not going to beat Glennon Doyle.
Can you
I'm like,
give-
thanks for the support, honey.
Can you give the people like a quick, who is she?
She's like an inspirational leader, I would say. Best-selling author, inspiration. She's married to Abby Wambach.
Love Abby Wambach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the soccer team. She's just very inspiring.
Untamed is the name of her shtick. Oh,
And
sorry
her podcast is called We Can Do Hard Things.
Yes.
You know, and it's life advice. And she's good. She's great. We love Glennon Doyle, but we also want to destroy her.
Glennon Doyle, take a fucking week off so we can leap
take
through
a
the
month.
charts.
She'll probably have to take a month off.
Yeah.
She'll probably have to. You and Abby, why don't we pay? Okay, here, Glennon.
Yeah.
Karo and I we're gonna do a GoFundMe for a vacation for you and Abby. Go on safari, no internet, no podcast equipment. When you come back, you'll be number 2.
I love that you're saying like, no, you love her, respect her. No, I do know. She's my blood rival. I don't like her.
Yeah.
I want her to
take a month off.
I want her to, fail.
You want her to fail. Karo goes, I hope your crutches fail.
About 10 years ago, we were at an Oscars party and we
was a
were
little
really
drunk.
drunk and some girl had crutches and I said, I hope your crutches fail.
And we've never let him forget it.
There must have been context for that. I think she was blocking me. I think she was blocking me.
We were cutting cake. and he
Anyway,
wanted a piece of
Glennon,
cake.
we're the number 1 friendship podcast in the country, but we're the number 2 relationship podcast in the country. And we're coming for you, GD.
Oh, we are coming for GD.
All right. So what did we learn today?
So we learned that a lot of people are having these issues and there's a few common themes. You know, one of them is moving to a new city. One of them is like not really feeling like you're the type of friend as some of these other guys, or not knowing how to go out to a party and really socialize. They all require the same thing, effort.
We also learned that in order to get verified on Instagram, you need to just be in the New York Times.
You need a really prominent feature about you in the New York Times.
I'm just so butthurt about
This
this.
Schadenfreude.
I mean, it was like people would be like, "Oh, how's Kara doing? How's Matt's doing?" Well,
One of them was Instagram verified and one of them wasn't. So I guess who is who now?
Oh, guys, that's our show. You can find us on socials. Leave us a review. Be good to yourself and be good to your friends.
Love you,
buddy.